appreciate that not every day that you're called upon to share. Right now, just like Professor said, or the VC, that the way we normally structure our content with our physical classes, it's somehow different from how we basically manage our online content. So someone can even ask, why do we need to go through this content creation for e-learning? But the background knowledge is, with the physical classes, you have a chance to come to class and illustrate and teach and emphasize, and students can be able to engage you at that point. But with online content or online classes, it means that students are going to read your content in your absentia. So what we are looking at is how best are you going to be able to still engage the students even if they're not seeing you? How are they going to be able to actually access the content, understand it, interpret it, and they can be able to implement it in future or apply it in future? So what I'm looking at, this presentation is divided in two parts. I'm going to look at online content designing, and then Dr. Mbanzabugaba will look at the best ways we can be able to deliver this content to the students. So I've broken this up into basically 9 steps, which you are going to follow as you're creating the content, which I've called the best practices for e-learning course navigation. And just to give the highlights, one step is going to be talking about why do we need to even, where do we start from, answering the why. 2 will be looking at defining who is your learner, or who do you intend to teach, that is your target audience. We shall be looking at creating an intuitive learning path, catering for all the learning styles, trying active learning, keeping it short and simple, making quality as a priority, speaking the right language, and also being original. So those are the 9 steps that you are going to look at that will help us to come up with the best content that a student can be able to read, understand, even if you're not available. So to start my class, I am going to start with start with the why. Start with the why means, will your audience understand your content from the word go? So one of the things you need to answer, 1, what are they going to learn? 2, how are they going to learn it? And 3, what is the use of whatever you're going to teach to them? Because right now we are looking at how do you actually engage and invest emotions of the learners so they can be able to get you from the word go. Just from all of us, we all understand that students will always come to our classes after trying to find out, am I going to get any validation from the notes or from this lecture? If they feel there is no value addition, then they'll come to attend just for the sake of it, or they come to attend just to get marks, but having dismissed the course. So from the word go, we need to actually come up with learning outcomes that capture what they're going to learn, how they're going to learn, and what is their value addition, what is the usefulness of that course to them. So it is always very good that you can be able to actually put that in the first slide. So as you are coming up and creating the course outline or the learning outcomes, then we need to also capture some active verbs, things like create. So those of us who have done education, you'll find that we've always emphasized Bloom's taxonomy. Yes, I've put some references where you can be able to dig more, but others, I know this is what you usually do. So using Bloom's taxonomy, we try to focus on verbs that are are going to capture and demonstrate what you want or the purpose of that course to the learner. The other one is define who the learning is for. Now, defining who the learning is for, here I'm trying to look at what is your target audience. Very many times as lecturers, we always assume that the audience we are trying to target actually knows what we are teaching. We try to reflect what we know, and we try to think that the students will also understand us. But in this case, first put yourself in the shoes of the student. Look and focus on your audience first. So you need to ask yourselves, one, what is the level of education of these students? What is their background? What is their capability in retaining information? Instead of us, which is 99% of the cases that we try to create content reflecting ourselves as lecturers, meaning that the students will be disconnected from the word go because they will not be able to understand us since we are speaking to ourselves. So we need to understand our target audience and then come up with a learning outcome that actually fits them. I can give just a simple scenario based on you, okay? The way you teach the day students is not the same way you're going to teach the evening and the weekend. Why? The day students are the fresh students coming straight from home, very eager to learn, very fresh. So the way you deliver and you put your content is also switched to that way. The evening, these are students who want to learn, but they are tired. They're coming from work. The weekend, these are the ones who are old, but want to go to class to safeguard their jobs. So how you tailor make your content, look at the audience at that time, so that you capture what they want to learn and how to learn better. So you need to look at their background, you need to look at how comfortable are they with the technology, because at this point, we are on e-learning. So are we looking at people who are BBC? BBC to those doing computer, it's not the one we're used to. BBC to IT, we usually call it born before computer, meaning people who are not very comfortable with the technology. And yet we are going to be delivering all our classes online. Then the other third one is creating an intuitive learning path. Now, creating an intuitive learning path, this one is all about how do you structure your content as you're going to deliver or as you are putting out your slides. You need to follow some kind of order. And the order I'm talking about here is, it would be very good to start with a simpler content. Simpler content in which way? Something that students will always adjust to, learn faster, and move along. So you start with a simpler content, then you gradually increase to the difficult level of content. But in this way, it will help the students to actually practice their new skills and knowledge, and the learners will now be able to at least build knowledge at manageable pace. Now, what I mean here is, if I can use something that we all know. If you're raising a baby at home, you cannot give ugali or the kaunga to the baby who has just been born. It is always good to start with the breast milk, then you introduce softer foods until he gets to the ugali. At that point, by the time he reaches the ugali level, the person or the child is very okay to adjust to that. So it still comes back to our students. It is always to design your content in a way that it gradually moves from the simpler to the complex in that way, instead of starting with the complex that will automatically turn off the student. Because when a student gets very complex content that he cannot understand, the best they will do is to actually move off. Or they'll switch off, just attend class, but they're not understanding anything you are trying to give to them. So to avoid that, it will be always good to have some kind of a direction that is from the simple content, things like just defining, giving simpler explanations, to complex things of trying to actually put more focused practices, then that can engage at least the learners more. And then you can now bring in some of the quizzes. You can now try to bring in automated feedback. At least at that point, the students are more comfortable with whatever you're teaching. Then the other step, that is number 4, and this one I find it a bit, I want to emphasize it more. And the reasons why I'm emphasizing it is there are different learners or students as we usually have them. Now, these students here, we need to find a way of how do we attract, and not only attract them, but also deliver content they will be able to understand. Now, here we are looking at 3 types of categories. We have students who can actually understand content in a visual form. They want to see what you're teaching, presentations, videos. Those are the type of learners who will understand there. But we also have other learners who prefer audio. If you've noticed when you're in class teaching, there are students who will actually prefer to record your classes. Yes, I know UOK does not allow phones in class, but you find a student who will come with his phone, turn on the recording, and cover the phone with a book on top so that you don't chase him out. But the reason is they want to record so that later on when they're revising, they can play back that audio for them to learn and understand better. Then you have also those students who want to get their feet wet or dirty, meaning they're very much hands-on, practical in the nature, and those are the ones we're calling the schematic learners. Now, the reason why I'm putting all these 3 types of learners here is we need to understand their strength, what is the best way they can be able to learn, so that as you're designing your content, you also factor them in. So in this way, sorry, let me, others can switch off their audio devices. Allow me to mute all the other people in the, so that we can hear ourselves well. Sorry for that, but I'm muting everyone. Then we shall talk afterwards. So I'm going back to my presentation. So what I was saying is, it is always very good to balance the content so that it captures all the type of learners, from the visual to the audio to those who want to do their work by doing more practicals and whatnot. So to make it sure that skills, knowledge, concepts are presented through a variety of video formats, graphic formats or content, written notes, activities like branching scenarios, group assignments, so that we all bring all the people together so they can be able to learn. Now, there is another slide that I put there which explains them in details, showing as a visual learner, what is their strength? What's the best way they can be able to learn? Majority of the strength of a visual student will follow direction very well. They're very easy at visualizing objects, and they have what you call a great sense of balance and alignment, and they're very excellent organizers. So what is the best way they can be able to learn? One, they study very much the notes on overhead, slides, whiteboards, matboards, presentations, reading diagrams and handouts, textbooks, and they are very good at studying alone. Students who are audio by nature or audio learners, their strength is they understand the subtitle changes in the tones of the voice of the person who is teaching, in case you have to record and send it to them. So whenever you talk, that tone, how you push out the content goes to them very easily. And writing responses to lecturers and oral exams. I know some of us who have done the English exams. Some of you are wondering, why is it that Dr. Wasaja was putting the listening option? Some of us might have failed the other part where it's reading and typing back. But some of us managed to pass because of the listening part. So as a lecturer, you need to tap into all the students. Can read, write, listen, videos and whatnot. Maybe the video was missing. Maybe Dr. Wasaja next time come out to put us some videos and watch, so it can all of us be catered for. Best ways to learn for an audio person is participating audio in vocal in classes, making recordings of the class notes and listening to them later, reading assignments out loud, and studying with a partner or in a group. Now, when you come to the kinesthetic learner, that is the person who is a bit more practical, wants to move around. So these ones are very good at hand-eye coordination, quick reception, excellent experimenters, good at sports, art, and drama, and have high levels of energy. Best ways to learn, these ones will work very well with conducting experiments, acting out a play, studying while standing and moving around, doodling in class, studying while performing some athletic activities. And in this way, you find that such students will want to do a lot of simulations. So when you're teaching or when you're delivering online content, it's good when you provide some bit of simulations, and those simulations will now help them to retain their content much better and also improve their understanding. So we need to understand, as you're creating our content for online classes, we need to factor in all the three categories of students. And when you factor in all the three categories of students, we stand a better chance to pass that information to everyone in the class, instead of just targeting a few and then you leave other students floating. So that one, I had to give it some more time because it is extremely very important as we are designing our content for the classes. Then the other one is trying active learning. Many of us, when you're designing our content, actually we prefer to put passive content. Now, passive content here, I'm referring to people who love listening to just podcast or audio, watching a video, reading notes. That's all passive learning. But how do you tailor-make your content to have some bit of active learning? Active learning, in this case, we are looking at content that is going to engage the learner. Engage the learner in which way? At least they can be able to think or activate their thinking. They can be able to have problem solving and also practice their knowledge and skills. So in this way, it means that you can be able to encourage exploration, experimentation, risk-taking, and in a way, you'll be able now to boost the motivation of the students, performance, and you'll also have stronger community collaborations. So when you are trying to design your content, make sure at least you put things like simulations. This is very common for the IT modules, accounting, and others, where you can be able to use simulators to involve the student to be more active, even if you're not there to monitor them, but at least they'll be able to engage themselves there. Then the other point, that is point number 6, is about keeping it short and simple. Now, this is very tricky for most of us. But as we normally say, that less is more. It's very common practice for ladies to keep quiet. But as men, we all know that when a lady keeps quiet, she's actually talking more. So the same thing applies to our content online. You don't need to have a lot of content given to students that in a way will even scare them off. So just like ABCD, very easy, direct to the point. So your content needs to be more focused, more concise, and very carefully selected. So one of the biggest challenges of us lecturers is which content are we going to allow to continue with? Which content are we going to filter off? How are you're torn between the two. And you might find that as you're selecting the content, you might even filter the most important content. So as a lecturer, you need to sit down and focus your content. Look at your learning outcome and focus your content based on that. So that when you're filtering, you're not putting off content that would have been very good for your student or your students, and then you have left it out. So in this case, as a lecturer, you need to make sure that you put something short and simple. Some of us have modules which are big. So you have a module of, let me say 10 chapters, but each chapter has 150 slides. With simple mathematics, that means you're going to be having 1,500 slides. By the time a student looks at that, looks at the time it's going to take to read that content, automatically the student will automatically freak out. You'll create a panic attack. So as students, as lecturers, we need to create content that is very direct to the point and very simple to the learners. Then another point, that is number 7, make quality a priority. Why am I saying that you should make quality a priority to you? Some of us who love watching movies, you've seen some movies which are really badly produced. You just don't want to watch it anyway. You've read books that really have a lot of typos. Now, just imagine you're presenting your content to students with a lot of mistakes. That alone will be a distraction to the learning process or their learning experience. So as we are producing content that's going to be consumed online, and you'll not be there to explain to the students what you meant, it is always very good to put a sufficient level of quality assurance in your work. You might be providing or recording a video, just like most of us are doing now, but what is the background? You might find that you're recording a video, but there is noise in the background. You are close to a radio, cars, say close to a road, cars are passing, someone is watching a video or movie within the same room, you're recording a video in. All that is going to become a distraction and will now be counterproductive to whatever you're trying to use or to put out to the students. Another biggest problem we have is content that is written with a lot of grammatic and spelling errors. I know all of us here, English is not our first language, but there are some people that we know are good. It is always very good that you can be able at least to share your content before you give it to the students, to another person, to have at least something to look through. And when he's looking through, he can actually now advise you by correcting some of the errors, some of the baby spelling or grammatic errors. And in this case, it is very good when you share such content with what you call the subject matter expert or SMEs. So a subject matter expert will understand what is meant to be there, will be able to correct the mistakes, so that by the time you share out your content, at least it is well read through and minimized on the errors. Otherwise, students will be laughing at you without knowing why they're laughing, because the content that you produce to them has very many errors. Then point number 8, that is speak the right language. Now, speaking the right language here, what I want to mean here is, do you understand your audience? We talked about this in point number 2. Trying to understand your audience so that you can be able to relate with them. So when you're teaching, it's always a common practice that most of us go to internet, download notes from US, from India, from China, from all over the world. But we fail to tailor make out those examples to the Rwandan context. I'm giving an example based in Uganda, giving an example based in Kenya. But will the students in Rwanda be able to understand and relate with that example that you're trying to portray, or you're trying to use to illustrate your point? Now, in this case, it is always very good. Yes, you would have got the notes from whichever university or whichever forum, but sit down and extract and input only examples that you think in your absence, students will still be able to read and understand them. We'll be able to read and be able to relate with them. So if I'm to use companies within Rwanda, why can't I replace a company from abroad with a company like Inyanji, or Bank of Rwanda, or Airtel, or MTN, and so much, or and so forth? So that one will at least help students to understand the content better, and will be able to relate with those examples because that is what they know within their environment. And at some point, there's some few courses we teach that we can even use industry-related terms. Just like in programming, when someone hears someone saying, I want to just to code, that means the person just wants to, or crack a code, it means he's going to program or something of the sort. So we try to tailor make our examples, the language, to the field we are in. For the lawyers, yes, they also have their own jargons that the students will understand. So we try to use those that, if it is in accounting, if it is in IT, if it is procurement, we try to tailor make examples that will actually be understandable and relatable to the students within that field. Then the last one is being original. Because we try to copy paste many examples from the internet here, there, we try to bring 100% of the content as the way it was in US to here. But remember, right now you're sharing your content online. Yes, we have what we call content curation. That is that bit where you want to try get as many content or videos or articles online to see how you relate with your topics. It is good, but doing a lot of copy pasting, let me say 100% of your content is copy pasted. It means, one, you are plagiarizing someone else's work, and two, it will be very hard to associate that content with you as a lecturer. So it is always good, as you get the content online or from whichever place, you try as much as possible to customize it to you as a lecturer and to the students that you're targeting to absorb that content, and also as much as possible to be able to portray the university at large. So in this way, as a person, you want to share the content online, and when people access that content, they'll actually say, this content belongs to so-and-so because of the way you have customized it to your own. So in this way, at least it will be able to make your content more original, and you'll be much proud that you own that content. So as I conclude, it is always very important as lecturers to assess ourselves. It is one thing thinking that you are the best lecturer. And the question will be is, who told you are the best lecturer? Or who told you that you have the best content? Now that answer can only be answered by the students. At least if you can be able to ask your learners how it was, the students will be able to tell you that yes, it was good to this percentage, and that means there is room for improvement later on. Or students can tell you, yes, everything was okay, so you don't need to improve, but to maintain. But it is always very good to get feedback from the students so that you can be able to tailor make your future presentations and content in that regard. So that is all for me. I put some references that we can be able to, in future, you can be able to relate to if you want more details. And as of now, I want to thank you, and I will appreciate all questions that you have for me. Thank you. You can unmute yourself when you want to ask questions.
Yes, question.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Katende, for the wonderful presentation.
Thank you, Prof.
I really appreciate. However, as much as you've said,
yes, Prof.
I will really agree with you on the aspects, on some few aspects. One,
yes, Prof.
Our colleagues need to know that whatever we've been doing during lockdown, HEC has confirmed that they are coming to visit us and see what we've been doing so that they can approve it. So each staff must make sure that his materials are online, they are uploaded. Now, these materials that are uploaded should at least be in a similar form of, study materials for e-learning. You should make sure that these materials have got learning objectives, you have got a topic, you have got a subtopic, there is kind of clarity in your notes. And also, like as you've mentioned, Mr. Kated, the issue of language is very important. The language of presentation should be at the level of the learners. The learners need to understand what you're explaining to them or what you are writing. I've seen some materials, someone was defining a concept using a concept. For example, someone is defining strategic management. He writes and tells students that strategic management means studying strategically. Now, that is very confusing because when you tell a student that strategic management means studying strategically, or when you tell a person that let's say, for example, about planning, you are defining planning. You say when we talk about planning, we are referring to, let's say, you are talking about strategic planning. You say strategic planning is planning strategically. Sincerely speaking, a student cannot understand these things. You are using a concept to define a concept. At least when you are defining a concept, make sure you avoid repeating or using the same words that you actually are applying. And then the other thing, which is also important, is this thing of setting learning objectives. Learning objectives, those people in education, they understand it better. Make sure that everything you are going to teach, you have clear learning objectives, you have outcomes, and they are well articulated. This will help a student to know what is expected to learn and what is supposed to do after studying the module. It is very, very important at the beginning of the module. You tell students what they expected of,
yes,
how you are going to take them through the rigor. You introduce the overview of the course content, talk about the whole course in general, then talk about the rationale. Why are you teaching us these things?
Sure.
What advice did you give us? What are the prerequisites that we need to know if I'm to do a course? Even the linkage of the specific module to other modules that students have studied on the same program. If someone is doing, for example, mathematics, he would like to know how does mathematics fit in IT that he's studying. If someone is doing, let's say, is being taught a module, let's say, in finance, he needs to understand how does this module fit into the current program structure or the expectations of the student. Then provide essential reading materials beyond what you are providing. Also let students be able to know where they can go and read more, but provide reading materials that are simple. And also enable your students to understand your assessment mechanisms. Don't hijack your fail. If you are going to examine the students, make sure that students are aware of what they know, what you are likely to examine. But that does not mean that you give them answers. Let them know, in assignment 1, you will cover this topic. Assignment 2, we shall cover this topic. Final exam, maybe we'll cover everything. CAT will stop here. But this business of hijacking students, you give them everything, things are mixed up, then you say, you come up even with the topic that you did not even cover well. You find it is covering almost half of the exam. Then you have 80% of the failure. To me, it is better you let your students understand your assessment mechanism of the course. How are you going to set the CAT? How are you going to set the assessment? Is it going to be multiple questions? Is it going to be an essay? Like as you are saying, if it is English, Are people going to watch a video and respond? You explain, like the way we did English test. Me, I didn't know the structure. I entered in, I was given objectives. When I was halfway, I relaxed. I didn't know towards the end. You have the biggest passage, you have got the biggest part of listening. I struggled within the last 9 minutes to deal with a passage. Thank God I was able to pass it very well, but this passage was carrying 30 marks out of 100, meaning if you fail it, you are finished. So let your students know the structure of your exam, the structure of your assessment, but also the objectives of the course. If you are teaching me a course or a module, make it clear. What is it after I've completed this module? What will I achieve? And also try to make sure that you make a summary of the whole module and give students a feedback as you tend to wind up your lecture. At the end of each lecture, give a summary. You say, today, this is what we've covered. You go back and summarize. Those who have not got you well, or who came in late, or who were somehow interrupted, can be able to link up what you've taught. And also make sure that you give students a content outline. Those ones who are not able to pick you verbally, they can be able to follow using an outline. So the subtopics on the course outline for each lecture. Even you can also show, like in you are talking, think about these things of prerequisites. What do you need to have studied to cover this module? You find some students are studying high-level modules when they have not covered low-level modules unknowingly. But there are modules you should not cover. For example, if you are studying, let's say, mathematics 2, you should have covered mathematics 1. And also let the lecture be broken into subtopics that students can grasp in a simple way. Because students can read on their own, even share videos. If you have conducted a lecture, lectures are all recorded. If you don't know how it is done, you can contact IT. Share these videos with your students so they can be able to go back, revisit them, listen to them carefully and understand what you've been teaching. Because some students, they go off either of network or power cutoff or various reasons. And by the time a student comes back on air, maybe the lecture has concluded or has ended. So those are some of my few observations which I've seen and which I felt that I should bring to your attention. If you can address those, I'm very sure that we are very close to.
Yes, I have a question, Katende.
Yes, please. Yes, Mr. Kimuya.
Now, there's some more where one teaches already content which is there, like computerized accounting.
Yes,
you teach software which is already designed and it's already there. Yes. How do you, come up with the course material? Because you are teaching software which is already there. And again, it's a challenge in e-learning when you teach such a module, because you will require to have the students having the devices and having the software in those devices. How do you go about that?
Thank you for that. Now, for the already existing softwares, now we all use softwares, but now you are integrating based on which example? Because if you're using things like QuickBooks, are you using QuickBooks based on a company in US, or are you using QuickBooks using relevant examples which are localized, which students can actually now follow and they can be able to relate to? Because yes, softwares are all the same all over the world, but how are you teaching that the students can be able to actually relate with it? Now, the issue about the practicals where you need softwares being installed on particular machines or gadgets, that's where in point number 2, I said some of the questions you need to ask your students at the beginning is how comfortable are they with the technology? Because you find that some of the students might have the laptops, but they don't know how to use the software they're going to use. So you might need to help them out there. There are those who might not even have the gadgets. Now, those who might not have the gadgets, we might not address it here. But now I'm looking at situations where someone has the gadgets, but doesn't know how to use them. So as a lecturer, you first ask the people whether they have the gadgets. Those who have and they don't know how to use them, then you come out to help them or direct them on how to use them before the classes start. So that all along the way, they'll not give you problems as they are learning. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Yes, my name is Joel.
Yes, Mr. Joel.
Lecturer in School of Finance and Accounting. On that question of software,
yes.
Like I have module 3, I'm going to teach most of the students, BBIT and
yes, please. Yes, I can hear you. Mr. Joel, you went off?
Joel, continue.
accounting, but I call it these students before I even start my module 2. And
yes.
Just preparing them before time be able.
So, sorry, you're breaking up a bit. Maybe the network is not very stable. But as we wait for him, Madam Massa has a hand up. You can ask as we wait for Mr. Joel to stabilize.
Well, thank you. I'm not asking. I'm going to comment on, I think Joel and Mr. Kimuya asked, they are asking the same question.
Yes.
This is about practicals, like computerized accounting, financial accounting.
Yes.
Now, these practicals, the first, before even we start, you can make a short video on how to install the software needed and send to students. You can also upload it on MIS and upload the software itself, such that they prepare before the class. Now, during the class, how do we teach them this kind of softwares? Because we might not use PowerPoint. We project the screen, we share the screen, such that whatever practical we are doing, they are also seeing, which they can do as they watch from their laptops. But for those who have phones, it might be difficult for them. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that addition. I'm seeing Dr. Ngoboka wants to say something.
Yes, I have just a short comment, and I want also to thank you for a very good presentation.
Thank you very much.
Maybe you could have also emphasized on activities, because I think activities are very important in the learning process.
Yes.
The content, the material could be good, but if there are no activities, this becomes what you have called passive learning. So because you can divide your course into sections or subtopics, as the VC said, and each subtopics has to have learning outcomes. So in the case you have learning outcomes, the only way of checking whether you have achieved these learning outcomes is through activities. So I think we should emphasize on activities, whether it is a theoretical course or a course like English, where mainly based on activities. For me, I think there should be more emphasis on activities, so that maybe even if the content is short, the other aspects of the course can be seen through activities. That is my comment. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Is there any more observations, questions, or comments before Dr. Mbazabugabo comes in? Silence means no. So, Dr.
I've
Mazabugawe
not had
can.
your. Excuse me, I've not had your response because my internet was down.
Oh, sorry. I want to re-echo what Madam Masses talked about, that one of the ways you can be able to help these students is, one, you can record a video prior to the class showing how you're going to actually install these softwares on their personal computers. You can also share the software on the MIS, so they can be able to download and install them on their computers. So by the time you start, at least majority of the students will be all on board. Thank you. Dr. Wasaja, you want to say something?
Yes, I would wish to.
Yes, please, you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Now, I also want to add my voice to thank you for that marvelous presentation.
Thank you.
And all the reactions that have followed. One, I also realized that yes, there is need again to have, because you have put everything into context very well in relation to the structure of the course. Talking about the course content, course outline, you know, all the preparations that are necessary. Now, probably we can as well start thinking of how to create the real, the real material, how it looks like, the visual, the video, the, you know, the graphics, the animation, those entity, you know, we have the content, because I was following what HOD Mercy asked. Yes, a lot of people have their content already organized. The question is, how do they fit within the required entity, you know, those entities where they can fit for visual, for video, and all that kind of stuff. So probably we can follow this up maybe on another time with a practical, where people can see how to use Canvas, Griffy, and other, you know, ways, Audacity, in making sure that we create the small videos that can be not so heavy or whatever. You know, people need to know what content can be, you know, can be absorbed into this particular media, and which media exactly, you know. So I think I'm thinking as I'm speaking, but I think we need also to have such a practical exercise for our staff.
Thank you. I think the acting VC has heard, so he will be able to guide us on the way forward. Doc, you can continue now. Dr. Mazabugao, it is your floor now.
Okay, thank you very much, Bwana Katende. Thank you very much, members. Yeah, I'm going to pick from where Katende stopped. And of course, this is also a compliment to what he has covered. First of all, I would like to thank the management, the VC, Prof, for organizing this session. And it is very pertinent to have this session because, you know, this COVID came without notice. So we were not prepared. We have struggled a lot to respond to its disruption. But of course, this is the right time to think on what we are doing and how we can align with the standards and at least the quality aspect of designing the content and delivering the content as well. So Mr. Katende has covered the 9 process or steps to go through in order to come up with the content which really a student can embrace when they are following online. I'm coming in also to compliment on what he covered. Just have a look on the introductory that teaching in a remote approach is totally different from face-to-face, which means that there we need to understand that some students who have been also struggling to understand in face-to-face will likely struggle a lot when we turn to online. But what can we do to assure that we respond to this challenge or to this problem. Okay, so here we have to agree that we want to propose, and this is what Professor and Dr. Ngoboka also commented, and what Wasaja also commented. I think this is the right time to hear from me, and this is what I'm suggesting. So a module should have a profile. Mercy have been talking about delivering practical, and the other person was talking about delivering computerized accounting or whatever, and the strategic management, any kind of module. We advise if the module could have a title. Of course, the student at the pre-O need to see the title of the module and the code, the module, a brief description, which introduces the runner, which introduces the student what is about, what is all about this module. Then the running objective and the running outcome of the module, because after all, a student needs to know really after this module, who am I? Okay. Who is the student after running computerized accounting, after running software engineering, after running Java, after running strategic management? Then segment this module into running Unity. Also, we call them sessions. For example, you see that a module is likely to take a month, or let's say will be 20 sessions. So let the running Unity be segmented into several sessions, but each session to respond to the aspect of the objective and the running outcome which is expected from the module. Then delivery methodology also must be indicated during the module formulation. So this is whether you have to let the student also understand that sometime a case study will be there. Okay. If, of course, we don't have a forum, but at least we will be having live sessions. It's a live session which indicated that each and every class will be having a live session. This is what we cover using Zoom. Then the class is a BIT class, is a class is project management, is accounting, is raw, and so on. So we need also to make sure that the audience also are captured within your module content design. Then show them assessment. Ngoboka was focusing on active running engagement activities. Yes, students should be able to understand that as long as the module is going on, they likely to involve in a different active running engagement. Those are assignments, okay, which may come in form of formal assignment, okay, and this is a formal assessment, assignment, and you may give a quiz. To respond to the question of Mercy, during the practicals, as you are sharing the screen, you may also ask students to present what they are doing. They can share screen, you can see, you can assess them, okay? That is through the use of quizzes. Our is not providing automated quiz, but you have seen can test in your student session, you know that at least your students are following and they are making use of their time when they are active. You disconnect from students. Except the WhatsApp group we are having, there is no other interaction between students except than interacting with them via WhatsApp by sending you an SMS and a WhatsApp message. I can't hear this, you can guide me. I failed to install this tool. I failed to connect. I failed to troubleshoot. So you can do that. But let me give you a scenario when I was teaching a student from project management. So I taught them how to install the tool called TeamViewer, so that if a student faces a problem, he can share with me the code, just his code. Then I can enter in his computer and assist him as if we are sitting together. So that time, I'm able to keep on interacting for support purpose, but I'm doing it online, not in a physical computer laboratory. So I was able to assess them. So by using assignment was on a basis of each and every chapter I was covering, because my module was subdivided into chapters. So each chapters, there was a self-assessment questions, and there was also assignment to submit. So this is how you can structure your module, and you engage students to deliver and respond to a formal assessment within your module. Then, as Bwana Katende said, it is not always possible to bring the entire content and you give to the student. Rather, you advise them for further reading, which maybe you advise for a unity, advise further reading that is a book, might be a chapter in the book, might be a journal paper of which is very interesting and connecting to the running objective of the module. It is maybe article which have been published, so of which you think also contribute to the running outcome of the module and connecting to the unity or a session or reason in your module. But we advise that we use genuine textbook, because sometimes, I'm sorry to use this, sometimes we dump to Google, we download. But remember, on Google there are even many more running materials, study materials, but always try to be really professional. Don't download everything from Google. At least direct them to a book which have been published, a book which is electronic book, which can be downloaded. You can download it, you can upload it to our MIS. Student can access the book from MIS. You direct them on which chapter or which part of the book they have to read. And after all, after reading, how do you want to get a feedback from them? It is through assignment or the other assessment, which may be a quiz you will have to involve your student. Then the next part is when you need really to link your content, okay, in creating a very good running path in your module. It means that each running session or running unity, a reason you have, append or attach either a PDF. You see here, we would be using a PowerPoint. But PowerPoint, PowerPoint is not really what students should use to run. You need to add resources to the content.
you need to add those resources, which can be a PDF file, which can be another extended PowerPoint presentation, might be a document of which you reviewed, you edited, which is pertinent to your module, might be an audio, pre-recorded audio if any, might be any audio which is downloaded from YouTube, which downloaded from any other media or no clouds, might be a video you took from class or any other complementary or supporting video from any other media storage. Might be a similar scenario to your module. You want your student to hear, you want your student to listen and reflect to your content. Might be a link to a digital content which is in another website or which is hosted within our MIS, but you may bring an external link and attach to your module as well. So might be an ebook. Ebook also can be another resource to enhance your content. And of course, keep in mind, this is the ebook which complements to your content. You designed from the MDF, that is module description form of our curriculum. Here, sometime you may find that we are online, but still we have to comply with the curriculum. So the curriculum provides a module description. The module description will provide the indicative content. So at each and every indicative content, these resources I'm talking about should be aligned with the indicative content within the module. And at each unit, we advise that a self-assessment is the best to engage students for participation purpose. Okay. And for effective participation, we cannot monitor the progress of the student based on attendance, based on having registered to the module. You have observed that you start with 30 students, you end the session when you are having 20 students. And they will be sending SMS, my MB is over, my MB is over. So, but after all, the other video we are recording, if added to your module or to your session as a resource, student can read, can review, play back, and can participate in self-assessment. Their feedback will imply that they have been following, they have been also reading, they merged into further readings as suggested, and you will be able to know that the progress with your module is good. Sometimes you teach, you ask a question, student will say no question. Okay, so, or they will just keep silent. So which gives you an impression to say that maybe they have understood or they have not. So what you have to do through assessment, you will come to know that really what you have covered like yesterday, now they have understood it, or they present a kind of a quiz. Now, when you are to deliver, you know that always students, they have a different impression. There are those who criticize. There are those who are interested, because there are those who will say my MBs. There are those who will say we don't have a device. But during delivery also, it is good to motivate the student to always showing up. showing up to be active in your module. You tell them to react on the assignment, to read additional resources. Otherwise, students will think that what you are teaching right now is enough, yet for the knowledge, they have to involve in the further reading. When you are teaching, always structure the module as what Katende said. The structure of the module should always connect to the running unit. Don't think we are in face-to-face setting, because the more you move there and there trying to explain things of which maybe are not really connecting to the running outcome of the session. So think that there are complaint students that will say our MBs are counting down, and you will found those dropping and reconnecting. Why? It's because some content that you are trying to explain, they are also connecting to what you suggested in as a running outcome in the module, and they are found irrelevant. So they will disconnect, then come back. So remain focused on the running outcome when you are teaching. Then another is, as I said, is to always remember that we are guided by the module description form. So the session subsessions always should connect to the indicative content, and the resources which should be advised for students to read further should also reflect to the indicative content. Disconnect from content to case study. This is what Katendo was saying. You bring aspects from US, from Nairobi, from what, but we need to localize. Okay. To localize. There is the term what we call glocalization. Yes, of course, glocalization, that is global plus local, then you have what we call glocalization. You can glocalize your case study. You show the scenario, because those who are teaching taxation, if you bring taxation in Kenya, it's a totally different taxation in Rwanda. If you bring taxation in Uganda, it's totally different. Taxation in the US is different. So now we glocalize, because always we think our graduates will not only work in Rwanda, they may work in Nairobi, in the US, in whatever. Also, it is a good aspect to understand what the other practice, but also focus also on the local practice by using this case study. And this is what I devised to say, glocalization of the content to capture global aspects and the local aspect when you are giving case studies. Okay. Then connect to the new content. This was a compliment from Vice Chancellor. He said, it's good to always, because you see that the module have been subdivided into running unit or into session or lesson. So it's good to start a new session by also giving an overview on the previous session, so that you come to know that students are following, because sometimes you connect but they are not even remembered. So it is always best to connect the student to what have been already covered in the previous session, so that you keep the same move in the next unit or in the next component within your module. And of course, you need to do a kind of assessment to ask them some questions which will assure you that they have understood. If not, recap. When students are not able to demonstrate, maybe here you may ask, if they are not able to demonstrate that they have understood the previous content, will you again repeat and repeat? So no way. It's now, this is where you come on motivating them again to play back the video recording. We have additional resources to ensure that they are able to follow the next component within the module. Another element is based on how you keep your time when you are teaching. There is limitation in terms of content to be covered within a session. So if you teach and the session ends without at least having a running unity, which may implies the student to get a motivation for the next session, you will find the student giving a feedback that this is a routine. Okay, this is a routine, or this is similar to what we have covered yesterday. So it is better that limit amount of unit for a student to get within one session. You cannot start 2 chapters or 3 chapters in one session. But also it is possible to combine 2 chapters in one session if the design in the module give a sequence of one unit being a prerequisite to another unit, which means that the second one cannot be covered if the previous unit was not covered. So according to some research, a student engage drops significantly when you give them a video, when you give them audio, when you give them a content which is wrong or which is bigger in size. Assume that we are going to give a student a recording for 6 hours. We are teaching from morning up from 8 up to 1. We are teaching from 6 up to 9. So if you are going to give them one video, so students are likely to do not play back the entire video, because playback requires to have MBs. So when we are having break, it's better that with break, that's one recording. Then after break, it should be a new recording, so that students will not think to have a video for 4 hours or for 5 hours. Instead, they can have for 1 hour, 1 hour or 30 minutes, or 2 hours within 4 hours, then another 2 hours, so that they can understand that this element, this session or this unit, this is its corresponding video, and this another unit, this is its own video. Then another, when you are teaching, make sure that you interact with the student as you increase the interactivity as soon as possible. Okay, the interactivity of students, do you think is how you talk? Do you think is how you explain? Do you think is how you give different scenario and different case study? No way. Give students, give them an opportunity to listen, also to reflect back to you. Let student ask a question. Let the student also give you feedback on how they understand. Let the student also present where possible. Let students participate in different quizzes, so that based on their scoring, you will be able to know that really they have understood or they have not understood. balance synchronous and asynchronous learning. Remember that when we have 5 students to teach, Monday we will have 20, Tuesday we will have 30, Wednesday we will have 40, day after tomorrow, again on another day, you get different figures. Now, how do you connect the two? It means that there are those who are not to follow every day. There are those who will be claiming about internet connection. There are those who will come to class and get out because of internet stability. So now, how are you going to balance those two things? Because in synchronous, you are teaching them when all are online. But there are some other who will be dropping before end of the class, which means that what you are explaining during the time they are not online, they will have to use playback of your recording, or they will have to, again, read your PowerPoint, read the resources to complement what they have been given in a class, or they will have to work on some assignment, but if they get stuck, they have to go back, play back the recording. So you need to always ensure that those two scenarios should be handled. Another thing is when you are teaching, I don't know, maybe if I'm sitting very well, means that my position on the camera should be the position which attracts students. They are able to see me, not only the head. Okay? They have to see me very well, as if I'm standing in front of them. They have to see even my background. So sometimes you will find someone teaching, he's on a phone call. Someone is teaching, but he's responding to WhatsApp. Okay, so you have to understand what student now, what will be the reaction of student. Someone is teaching, but the kids are crying behind, or the wife is bringing food, you know. So those also aspects when we are delivering will implies a lot on how students are going to concentrate to be in class, and how students will take seriousness when they are running online. It's therefore recommended that your delivery approach should always connect to two aspects, synchronously or asynchronously. Complementarity between the two will make each and every lecturer to deliver online with respect to the module description which is in the curriculum. Thank you very much.